power, at least in terms of marketing departments. Oh boy. Audience, what do you think is the weirdest thing that the Final Fantasy series has done? Please let us know below, and please like and subscribe for more.
Hello and welcome to Murder with Friends, the show where two friends get together and talk about the darker sides of history. I'm your host, Grace Baldridge, and joining me today is comedian and my dear friend, Anye Malik. Anye, welcome to my creepy little show.
What's up?
No, we don't hug. I just like go like that, but it does
do from
feel
across
like
the way.
Yeah, it could have been a hug.
Damn.
I'm so excited to have you here. Please, for people that are not familiar with who you are and what you do, could you just describe how we know each other and what sort of comedy they can get from you?
I'm a master comedian. We met while I was mastering the comedy, and you were like, "Wow, so masterful." You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, that's totally
accurate.
true. I saw you perform and came up to you afterwards and was like, how are you so funny? Like,
teach me your ways.
Yeah, and like I sent you an email.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. What can people see of yours right now?
Right now, got an album out on iTunes and all the other stuff. It's called Pop Grits. It's my latest album of 3.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Pop Grits on iTunes. It's a priceless work of art.
Amazing.
Yes.
So when we talked about doing the show together, we talked about a number of different cases that we might want to cover, and 2 figures that you suggested that I thought would be kind of interesting are the unsolved murders of Biggie Smalls, the Notorious B.I.G., and Tupac Shakur, which is what we'll be talking about on today's show. So for someone who had never heard of who these 2 people were before, how would you sort of briefly describe their life and legacy?
Tupac and Biggie were the embodiment of 90s rap. You know, their feud changed rap feuds forever. They're the most interesting figures in hip hop. You know, their rise to success and ultimate demise. You know, even the unsolved. You know, even the mystery around their case is so much commentary about the culture and capture at that time in their cases. And you know, Tupac was an artist that was like really had like a human range, like a really, really dope rapper that could tell the story, not only just in the streets, but like, you know, the story of other people, you know, in the streets. When I say streets, and when people hear streets, they're like, yo, this dude's shooting guns and dope dealing, but it's like on a more perspective level, you know, and not just the street characters that's, you know, shooting guns and dope dealing, but like people walking on their way to school, or like people having babies, or like, you know, torn relationship between him and his mother, or, you know, it's a lot of little nuances and range that he reached, just about life in society from the disenfranchised side. Yeah. And then Biggie was also a very, very powerful figure. He had an awesome voice, and he was very descriptive and aggressive, yet laid back kind of style. He would articulate a lot of things that were like very heavy, but he would do it in a casual manner. And it was like, yo, you kind of violent, but it's kind of smooth. Like, you know, like one of my favorite tracks of his, I talk about this on Pop Grits, now available. No, I say, you know, one of my favorite, most thugged out lines of his is a hook. And he's like, you know, I love it when you call me Big Papa. You got the gun up in your waist. Please don't shoot up the place. Why? Which is like, you know, why would you have to beg your friends not to shoot the place up?
That is a cool yet violent line.
And then they don't even understand like why you would even ask, like, whoa, what you mean? What you mean? Don't
so with that being said, with that introduction, let's go to a clip right now outlining who we'll be talking about on today's episode.
The story of Biggie and Tupac is the story of 2 great friends who had a misunderstanding, a falling out, and became deadly enemies. Their murders were explained as being the result of the rivalry that had grown up between them. This is Biggie. Biggie and Tupac always used to hang out together. Biggie's last album sold over 10 million copies. This is Tupac. He made $80 million in sales in just 1 year. It was the occasion of Puffy's birthday in 1994. And if you look really closely, you'll see the rarest of footage of Biggie and Tupac hugging on the edge of stage.
I probably should have warned you guys before I tossed to that clip about how cringeworthy that narrator was. And I've watched some really fascinating documentaries leading up to covering this today. But we're gonna kick off the episode by talking about Tupac Shakur. And then in part 2, we're gonna tell you about Biggie. And then in part 3, we'll talk about their legacy and some of the theories surrounding their unsolved murders. So let's start with Tupac. So he's born, Tupac. He's born June 16th, 1971 in East Harlem, New York. I always assumed, because I'd bought into the manufactured East Coast, West Coast beef, that he was from the West Coast, but he was actually born in New York City, and he moved to Marin City, California in 1988. Marin. There you go. You're from California. You gotta. This is okay. Also, you should totally correct me on anything that I am mispronouncing throughout this episode.
Sound like that dude in the clip.
Yeah.
In Marine City.
Born in Marin City.
Marin City.
Yeah, so Marin, he's born in Marin City, California, 1988. And from a young age, this is a guy that shows an incredible gift for poetry, for dancing, for acting, for music. He's not a one-note guy. His friends have all said that. And he gets signed as a backup dancer for Digital Underground in 1990. And he begins releasing his own work around the same time. He comes out with Tupacalypse Now, which is his first solo record, and that is released on my birthday, November 12th, 1991. And I want to go to a clip right now of, this is Tupac's first televised interview to just give you an idea of the man that we're talking about.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Tupac, what has it been like for you being in the business?
What has it been like? You heard that Tribe Called Quest song? Record company people are shady. It's just a lot of smiles, a lot of shaking hands, a lot of everybody giving you their demo, a lot of backstabbing. But it's a lot of money, it's a lot of good experience, a lot of travel, a lot of females, and that's good. So you gotta weigh it.
All right, Anya, what made Tupac different from other rappers that were out at the time? What set him apart so early on?
I think it was funny that you mentioned in his start in hip hop, it kind of signals a whole different time frame in rap, period. You talking about being a backup dancer for a rap group. That was kind of where hip hop was at that point. It was a lot of big production, you know, it wasn't just to a dude rapping to a beat. It was like, you know, there was a couple guys rapping, you had backup dancers, you had background, you had, you know, you had art, you had DJs, you had a whole kind of scene. And so him finding a way in there as an introduction with the Digital Underground, it's kind of funny that, you know, that's where rap was. It wasn't a happy kind of party place, you know, and it wasn't like an aggressive party place, kind of like it is now. If like it's always been a party music, but the fact that, you know, it was all about kicking it and dancing and drinking and hanging out with your friends versus now where, you know, you could kick it and hang out with your friends, but yo, they be like, you know, they got songs like, yo, we don't dance. You know what I'm saying? We too hard to dance. You know, it was before extra macho kind of took over. And so he kind of got in there, he got in there at a time where there was a void to be filled with poetry or heavy perspective based material.
And he was also not afraid to back down on social issues and issues that were facing his community. So his mom was a member of the Black Liberation Army and affiliated with the Black Panthers, as I understand. And so he was raised with this sort of heightened awareness of what was going on around him. He felt this sort of responsibility to his community. And he wasn't afraid to talk about that in his music. I have a clip right now of him talking about wealth disparity and race in America. So let's take a look.
There's no black neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, with black people who have the same amount of money as me. You know what I'm saying? There's richer and there's poorer. There's no just, you know, did a movie, got a little bit of money, living okay, black neighborhood. I have to be in a white neighborhood, so I don't fit in. That's hell. It's hell when you can't be around your peers. All my life grew up around black people, poor people, but I can't live around poor people now because they'll rob me. And why would they rob me? Because they're starving, because there's no money here. But they're telling me, now that I made a little money, I have to move here. So it's not like no one's ever trying to deal with this section. They're just moving away from it. And we're gonna have more stars coming from the ghetto, but they're gonna all move this way. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all the society is doing is leeching off the ghetto. They use the ghetto for their pain, for their sorrow, for their culture, for their music, for their happiness, for their movies, to talk about boys in the hood. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be another I don't want to be 50 years old at a BET We Shall Overcome Achievement Awards. You know what I'm saying?
One of the reasons why he was so outspoken too is kind of to the credit of that, being in Oakland, California, he credits a lot of his spiritual awakening and awareness, that connection, which is, Oakland is a city right across the water from Marin, where a lot of actually the Black Panthers were founded and started. And so I think his connection to Oakland, California kind of put him in that, it heightened his awareness and sort of sense of responsibility to speak on a lot of those issues, not just in music, but when, we got you to sit down, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I've been hearing, and what I know out in the streets that people aren't gonna tell you in an interview. And not like the streets, like thug life and all this, but like the actual socioeconomic ramifications of, like you said, using the ghetto as a source, an expendable kind of source of cool.
Yeah, so now I think we can sort of get into the events that led up to his untimely and early demise. So let's jump forward a little bit in time. Now we are November 30th, 1994. And something I would like to remind people watching today is that this isn't a biography show. So if you want to see a full biography on Tupac or Biggie, I would encourage you to do so. But this is about their extraordinary lives, but also their extraordinary and fascinating deaths, because this is a show called Murder with Friends. Just to putting that out there. So we're jumping forward. It's November 1994, and he is currently on trial for weapons possession and also for sodomy. There is some sort of an altercation that happens with a girl in a hotel room. She presses charges, and during this time, he is attacked at Quad Recording Studios. And this is a pivotal point in Tupac's story because he feels strongly that Biggie and Puff Daddy at that time were somehow involved. Let's talk a little bit about what happened at Quad Recording Studios. He was basically hurting for some money because he was fighting these legal battles. And so he had agreed to do a spot on a song, just a feature for some sum of money. And when he rolls up, there are guys there dressed in army fatigues, some sort of army camouflage thing, that are prepared to rob him at gunpoint. They do so. They also shoot him and they steal $40,000 worth of jewelry. Tupac then gets in the elevator, goes up to where he was supposed to be recording, and he comes across Biggie and Puff Daddy and other, Bad Boy Entertainment affiliates who he says were not concerned. I mean, to his own account, he says that they seemed sort of shocked to see him, that maybe they'd expected him to be dead. So he read that situation as an attack that Bad Boy Entertainment had allowed to happen. And then we see that famous image of him coming out of the elevator, middle fingers up, being like, because he took 5 bullets. I mean, he took 5 bullets and he survived that. And then to add to this, December 1994, he is convicted of sexual abuse. So then he serves his time in prison. And during this time, he starts hearing rumors and he starts mulling over Biggie's connection to the shooting at Quad Recording Studio. So I have a clip right now about how these rumors were going on in his head.
While in jail awaiting a date for his appeal, Tupac began hearing rumors that Biggie not only knew his shooters, but was affiliated with them. With most of his money spent on his family and lawyers' fees, only one person offered to post a $1.4 million bail, Suge Knight.
All right, Anye, for people who have never heard of him before, who was Suge Knight? Who was this figure in hip hop and rap at the time?
Suge Knight was the CEO of Death Row Records, a subsidiary of Interscope. And at the time, Suge Knight had sparked a feud with Puff Daddy. At the Source Awards, he was seen as taking shots at Puff Daddy by inviting artists in the audience that don't, quote, want the producer dancing all in your videos, end quote, to come on over and join Death Row, which was a direct shot at Puff Daddy. And I think also that, the feud between the two of them caused him to align himself with Tupac to kind of pull in this powerful chess figure, this chess piece on his board in his grand feud between him and Puff Daddy.
Right.
Because at the time they were the highest figures of record success, record industry, music industry success for black folks. It was Puff Daddy and Suge Knight, and above them Berry Gordy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think the real feud was really between Suge Knight and Puff Daddy, and Suge Knight aligning himself with Tupac, sort of absorbing Tupac,
was a power move.
Was a power move, for sure.
And it is an insane power move, because Tupac releases Me Against the World, and it goes #1 on the Billboard 200 while he's behind bars. He's released in 1996, and then he starts working actively with Death Row Records. And now we are coming up to when he was shot, which is September 7th, 1996. And because these are unsolved cases that we're talking about today, we are going to fill in the timeline as best as we can, but a lot of this is still sort of up to speculation for exactly what happened. But what we do know is that the attack occurred after there had been some sort of a scuffle in Las Vegas between Tupac and a gentleman named Orlando Anderson. They got Tupac jumped Orlando Anderson because he was affiliated with the Southside Crips. Tupac was also a Crip. I
can't speculate. I think Suge Knight was with the Bloods. And so, and a lot of people think that, Tupac signing with Suge Knight was the shift from his socially aware Tupac to his, thug life, dark side. And so he was with that circle. Suge Knight was very active, from what I understand, with gang affiliations. And so, with Tupac there, it was the chances of him and the frequency of him coming across all manner of nonsense was just heightened,
Yeah.
Whereas before, like I said, he was a dancer, an art guy, and while he had connections in streets and knew a lot of street characters, he was an individual that sort of could walk on his own. You know what I mean? Like, he was the kind of guy that if dudes was planning a shootout, he'd be like, all right, well, I'm gonna catch up with y'all tomorrow. And they'd be like, all right, man, we gonna do some dirt. That's probably he got his thing going on. But with Suge, he's like, yo, yeah, I'm a ride too. You know what I mean? And it's like, it was a bad influence. I think Suge Knight kind of pushed him, and whether intentionally pushed him to be in the mix with him. He certainly had an environment that nurtured his ignorance and wild side and sort of a confrontational nature with Hennessy and weed and everything else around, and also high-strung individuals.
Yeah, so here we are, we're in Las Vegas. They're at the Mike Tyson-Bruce Seldon boxing match. Afterwards, they get into a scuffle with Orlando Anderson, and then I want to go to a clip right now of, this is Tupac's bodyguard describing the events leading up to the attack.
We came to a stoplight, which was Koval.
As Tupac's bodyguard follows in the car behind, the convoy inches forward. And as usual, Tupac draws the attention of his fans. Then, suddenly, out of nowhere, a white Cadillac.
As they got closer to the BMW, the arm came out and the gun just started firing.
Suge's car is hit with a spray of bullets. 4 of them rip into Tupac's body. Another grazes Suge Knight's head.
Right after the Cadillac shot into the car, I thought they were dead. My reaction was to run up to the car, and instead the car took off.
So following that interaction, Tupac will die in the hospital September 13th, 1996, and his murder is still officially unsolved. And we're only getting into this story because in part 2, we're gonna tell you about his counterpart, the Notorious B.I.G. We'll see you then. Welcome to part 2 of Murder with Friends. Today we're talking about the unsolved cases of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, the notorious B.I.G. And in this part 2, we're going to be telling you about Biggie. And I am joined by my friend and comedian Anye Malik. Anye, what is something that you think people should know about Biggie?
Biggie was a freestyler, and so where Tupac was known as a writer, heavy writer, a lot of Biggie's contributions, he didn't have a pen. I mean, he had pens, you know, he had access to pens, but he said, you know, none of that.
Yeah.
I'll have none of that. And so a lot of what he did came off of the top of his head. And so for that, you know, he was like a god MC, especially in New York where, you know, MCing was no joke. If you can't hold the bars, don't even try.
Yeah, so Christopher George Latour Wallace, he was born May 21st, 1972. You guys will know him as the notorious B.I.G. Biggie or Biggie Smalls. Originally, he wanted to go by the name Biggie Smalls, but it was already claimed, and so he went by Notorious B.I.G. That's something I found out. He was raised by a single mother in Brooklyn. He started dealing drugs around the time he was 13. Even though he was very brilliant in school, he excelled in English, he pretty much didn't go to school. A lot of the interviews I saw with his friends, like he'd do 2 periods and be like, all right, I got it, and I'm out. So he drops out of school at age 17, and he serves 9 months in jail for dealing crack in 1990. Like this was like a drug dealing guy. Like what he was talking about in his verses, it was like an experienced thing that he had been doing, and that's something I didn't know as someone kind of new to this whole story. And in 1991, he releases a demo that blows away Mr. C and Matty C from The Source. And where was hip hop during this time? When I'm looking this all up, Anya, I'm like, why did he blow people away?
The gangster rap that was popularized by NWA in '89 hadn't really blown up until about 91, 92 when the Chronic, around the time when Chronic came out and Death Row and, you know, Snoop Dogg were really active. And so at the time, you know, rap was still in a positive kind of place. You still had, you know, Tribe Called Quest and Digital Underground and these folks making positive rap, but it was towards a shift. The shift was going towards how can we get these gangster records? These gangster records are really selling, you know what I mean? And so Biggie being an individual who had a distinct voice and flow sort of brought that sort of mentality or that sort of energy, because it was already going on across the country. You know, the crack epidemic had hit in the 80s, and so a lot of people were seeing financial returns on drug dealing. But the gangster rap sort of, that sort of criminal aggression was mostly associated with the West Coast.
Okay.
And so Biggie being an individual on the East talking about, you know, loading guns and dealing crack, where the East Coast was kind of already on the party vibe. There was like, you know, a lot of positivity. It was Tribes, it was De La Souls, you know, and so he's coming out. I think his first casualty of rap was this guy, Kwame, you know, who was this like kind of a happier kind of rap guy who wore polka dot shirts, and like he said something about, you know, played out like Kwame and polka dots, and that was the end of Kwame rapping, but it was also an end of happy rap.
Right.
You know, it was not the end of happy rap because, you know, things take like a few months to dissolve, but that was a signal. That was a signaling of a change in the times. And on the East Coast, Biggie was that shift.
Yeah, and let's go to a clip right now that I found of Biggie's producer revealing how the song that you guys probably all know, Juicy, got made. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I had to find it, yo. I was looking everywhere trying to find the sample, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take it right off the tape. Biggie was like, yo, that's gonna be the single.
Yeah,
but here, as soon as he pulled the shit off, I heard the Juicy sample. I was like, oh man. And I ain't even hit the vocals to that yet, and they were just, I guess they were.
I remember him saying he wanted to rhyme over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him pitching to Matt, like, that he was gonna get on Juicy.
Sure he was gonna get on.
And Matt was on some real, like, you sure?
Yeah, I wasn't really crazy.
He was like, yo, Matt, watch when I get on it, though.
Yep. The video for Juicy was to represent the life Big envisioned for himself. What was once all a dream was now becoming a reality.
So Biggie has this impact on hip hop. It's fun, but it's also, there's this sort of hard message behind it. He is friends with Tupac, and Tupac was somewhat of a mentor to Biggie in the early days. And then following the shooting where Tupac took the 5 bullets, then their relationship totally shifted, as we talked about in part 1. But Biggie, he still didn't have the sort of, from my research, he didn't have the sort of animosity towards Pac that I think people wanted him to have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he didn't have the animosity, but he certainly fanned those kinds of flames. I think before Tupac died, he had released "Hit 'Em Up," where he bragged over having sex with his wife. But before that, Biggie did a song that a lot of people thought was about Tupac. Called "Who Shot You," and he didn't do anything to sort of tone those rumors down. And so a lot of people thought that was him actively, whether it was actively admitting involvement or just poking fun at the fact that he got shot. It was definitely fanning the flames of their feud. And then after he died, which was very interesting, I remember I was like 13 when Tupac died. A lot of people don't even think he's dead. A lot of people,
we'll get into
I can't say whether or not. Okay.
Yeah.
But after he died, Biggie did an interview where he was thinking that, Pac will pull through, and he was like, "Yo, I didn't even think he was gonna really die." When he's like, "I've seen Pac get shot before. Like he's been shot." That's like, "Oh, Pac got shot. He'll be all right." Like his reputation was that he could handle something like that. And so when he was doing interviews after Pac died, he had kind of started to peel back on that antagonization of their and heightenedness of their feud. But at the same time, it was weird because, he was dropping an album. I think so. Tupac died in September, around maybe November, December. Biggie had started to promo his album. Hypnotize was the first single off the Life After Death album. But when the new year came, or somewhere around Christmas of the new year, he dropped another single, Going Back to Cali, which was the follow-up to Hypnotize. And it kind of had the tone of Tupac's dead, ding dong, the witch is dead, I can go back to Cali now and play, And this is the time frame between him and between their deaths,
Right.
And so, the Going Back to Cali record, I think, was a huge. It was a very significant record, because the timing and the tone of it was that it gave, at least as me as a child at that time, it gave me the impression that either he was involved or he was relieved that Pac is dead. Now I can go kick it down. Now I am free to move about the country type of thing.
It sends a weird message.
And then when you hear it, in March that he was murdered in LA, I was like, I was like 13 at the time. I said, when I found out, I was like, probably shouldn't have dropped that single.
Well, you bring it up. He was murdered in LA. It's March 9th. And at 12:30 a.m. So it feels like the evening of March 8th, but it was technically March 9th, 1997, following the Soul Train Awards, where he had presented an award and he was actually booed at the Soul Train Awards. He is shot at a very similar sort of drive-by in the car. And let's go to a clip right now of Biggie's final moments.
Taking no prisoners. In the last days of his life, Biggie Smalls had gone to Los Angeles, Tupac's home turf, creating such a commotion that he and his entourage were kicked out of the Four Seasons Hotel. On Friday night, he was a presenter at the Soul Train Music Awards. What's up, Charlie? Cheered and jeered by a West Coast audience. Throughout the weekend, Primetime has learned, Biggie Smalls' every move in Los Angeles was being tracked by an undercover team of agents from a federal task force here in New York, investigating alleged ties between some of Biggie's business associates and the New York Genovese mafia family. It was the next night he was shot after attending a crowded music industry party, just moments after the undercover surveillance team had pulled off Biggie to follow one of his associates.
So there you have it. 2 rap legends are dead and both murders are officially unsolved. In part 3, we're going to tell you all about the theories and the legacies of these legends. Welcome to this final part of Murder with Friends. Today we're talking about the unsolved murders of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur. I'm joined by my friend and comedian, Anya Malik. Anya, you are holding a prop.
Fair Wallace, thine hath dined on thine last breath. Why hast thou left it?
Okay, so you brought up why, Anya. There are so many theories about what happened to these 2 rap icons. I want to get yours. What do you think happened to them?
Well,
who is responsible? Solve it.
I don't have a magnifying glass. Where are the clues? I think the whole thing was a bigger feud between Suge and Puff Daddy, and a lot of those investigative docuseries seem to point towards the 2 having involvement in the respective others' murder or assassinations. You know, there's a lot of swirl around Puff Daddy being involved with the individuals that set Tupac up for murder, and vice versa. You know, there's something about, you know, a LAPD officer who was, you know, affiliated with the Bloods being involved in Biggie's death, and you know that person has ties to Suge Knight.
And there's also that sketch that was circulated about the man who was seen shooting Biggie with the red bow tie, and maybe that had something to do with the Muslim Brotherhood.
There's also swirls that, you know, we haven't seen Tupac's dead body. A lot of people, you know, I can't exclude myself from this population, man, think that Tupac might have faked his own death. He might be in Cuba somewhere chilling, cornrows, Shaquille O'Neal Lakers jersey.
No, I don't.
Hey man, these are the conspiracy theories.
But what I will say to that degree is that I understand where a lot of the conspiracies come from, especially with regards to legends. I mean, whether it's, you know, Marilyn Monroe or JFK or Elvis or Biggie or Tupac, like when there is a legend that is killed, or you know, Kurt Cobain. When there is the death of a legend, of an icon, I think a way of holding on to them is by creating these conspiracy theories. You don't want to let them go, and you want to convince yourself that there's a way that they could still be alive, or that maybe that they're not alive, but that it can't have been suicide. It can't have been just a drive-by. There had to have been a greater conspiracy to kill them because they're so great. There had to have been a great plan in order for them to lose their time on Earth. Does that make sense? And then another thing that I think is kind of strange is that the autopsy for Biggie Smalls was released in 2012, December of 2012. Why did it take so long to release an autopsy report? There are a lot of weird things that come about with these murders, but I can't believe that Tupac is alive somewhere. I don't believe that at all.
That's okay. You don't have to believe that. You know, what proof do you have that he's really dead?
I mean, fair. I think that, you know, some of the theories that gain a lot of momentum in the internet verse that I have seen are 2 that I want to bring up. So LAPD detective Greg Kading, in 2011, he released something called Murder Rap, and he believes that there was some collusion with Biggie in killing Tupac. That's what he believes. I don't really fall there, but there are reports of that you guys can check out. And then Chuck Phillips of the LA Times said in 2002 he felt that it was gang affiliated because with regards to Tupac's murder, because he cites the scuffle with Orlando Anderson earlier in the night that Tupac was shot, and Orlando Anderson was a Southside Crip. So maybe, you know, this guy got jumped, he goes to his friends and they kill Tupac. What do you think about that? What I really believe is, like I said, I think this is a chess game. This was a chess game between 2 CEOs whose feud, you know, affected their artists. You know. So do you think that Suge Knight knew that Biggie was going to be shot? Do you think he had prior knowledge to what was going down? Or do you think he had prior knowledge of the killing of Tupac?
No, I don't think Suge Knight knew that Tupac was gonna get shot that night. There's no really way. I mean, who gets like shot in the head? You know what I mean? To get shot in the head is that's like a long ways to go to
I
clear
agree with
yourself.
you on that. But I've heard that some people, because there were rumors that Tupac was planning on leaving Death Row Records, and so that Suge Knight might have orchestrated the attack to stop Tupac from leaving. But then again, Suge Knight was shot in the head that night. So I agree with you. I think that's kind of a crazy theory.
Even still, like, you know, Suge Knight still had material that it was under contract. And so even rumors of him leaving, it was like, dog, I bailed you out of jail. Like, most of this is like, I don't think he was worried about that. And again, like, who gets shot trying to fake, you know, that's like I said, that's a long way to go, getting shot in the head to you know, hide your ties in involvement, like a very long way to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you ask me, and you know, I'm not, you know, I don't have any sorts of information, you know, I don't have any sorts of facts or information that would directly point to it. It's just kind of one of those who stands to gain the most, or who's, you know, who had the most motive. And seriously, I think it was a long play between Puff and Suge, you know, especially the way the fashion of Biggie's murder was carried out, you know. And I think these are each other. These are two guys knocking each other's chess pieces off the board.
Wow.
Basically, that's how I view it.
So how would you like for the younger generation to remember Biggie and Tupac? What would you want their legacy to be?
Oh man, that's a harder question, man. That's like, you know, I'm curious about what their friendship was like, you know, because people say they were great friends, and you know,
Biggie stayed on Pac's couch when he'd come to California.
Right. Okay. Biggie would stay on Pac's couch, and you know, but that's like a, you know, I know this guy type of thing. You know, not to say that like somebody that you let sleep on your couch is gonna murder you or be involved in your murder, or like, but you know, just because somebody sleep on your couch is not gonna mean y'all not gonna have issues in the future. You know, and people that are certainly like certain people that are close, they, you know, they clash harder than people who are distant anyways.
And
you know, and so
two brilliant minds, I think, is what it boils down to for me. A lot of people talk about their friendship. I think that there was a level of respect, who knows to what degree of friendship between the two guys. And I wanna go to a clip right now of Biggie being introduced to Pac and vice versa, sort of what their friends say they thought of each other. Let's take a look.
The story is, I used to listen to so much Tupac. I was telling Big, yo, Tupac is the best rapper, B. Like, he's the best rapper. He used to be like, looking at me like, yo, what? I used to feel like Tupac is the dopest rapper, man.
Pac genuinely loved Big too, you know. Paul Stewart, your man, told me a story of when they were working on the Poetic Justice movie, driving from San Francisco to LA, like him and Tupac in a fucking car, and Pac played Party and Bullshit the whole way down. Played the same song for like 5-6 hours before he knew who Big was. Stuck off him.
So what's your response to that?
Well, it's interesting, man. Like, it kind of illustrates too, like when people are at very like not low, but like struggling artist points. You know, you can make a lot of friends networking and being broke, and a lot of things change when you get money. You know, at some point, you don't have to sleep on somebody's couch. You know, you're not gonna approach that friendship the same. While you appreciate being able to sleep on the couch, you're not gonna, you know, it's not. They both move into a level of less humility because, you know, their friendship was changed by their positions, not only the positions of power and influence, but money, you know, like you talk about, you know, being in close proximity to each other like that as struggling artists, and then you guys have little B, so you don't need to talk it out because I got my people surrounding me. I've got all this going on. I don't, you know, I'll think about that later. And so I think, if anything, I would signal that, you know, the friends that you have are your friendships. You know, can money change? Money changes things between friends. I think And when there's so many elements that they had going on, you know, money, power, and then the street life, and then, you know, feuds, media reports, all of these sort of create a concoction or a recipe for murder among friends.
Yeah, it was you know, sort of the media narrative of gangster rap and East versus West, and I think that it is sort of a perfect storm of two friends, two people that liked each other, that just took such a dark turn, and we lost two brilliant minds so clearly and obviously before their time. It would have been so cool to see what sort of music and stories they would have brought to us today. But we want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. Had you heard about Biggie and Tupac before and their unsolved murders? What are some theories that you've heard? Let us know in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time on Murder with Friends.
It's Pop Sugar time, everyone. Hi.
Woo! Here we go.
You don't clap? Awesome.
Sorry, Jason. Okay, sorry. It's his first time hosting. I didn't clap.
Can you bring some enthusiasm?
Yeah, jeez. You will never step foot here ever again. Just kidding. Happy Monday, you guys. Hannah Cranston.
I want to come back.
It's like freaking Hunger Games. Hannah Cranston, Darren Dean, guys. Happy Monday. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was busy but good. I had like a crazy nightmare. I was telling you this earlier.
Do tell. Well, you didn't go into really like deep detail.
So I like woke up this morning, and you know when you're like, you feel awake, but you're like still sort of asleep, and I felt like there was somebody in my room, but I couldn't move my body to go like move and like get out of my room. And then all of a sudden, I felt like these like hands on my body, and I screamed. And I woke up, and there was nobody in my room, but like full on like screamed in my sleep.
Do you have roommates?
Scary.
Really scary. Yeah.
And did they hear you scream?
No, which is very concerning now.
Like, if you
maybe they heard me and they were like, oh, well, you know.
Maybe she had someone over last night. We don't know. Well, I'm glad the dream wasn't real, Hannah.
Me too.
But I hate those dreams that you have where they seem so real. Like there's some really good dreams that you're having.
And you don't know if you're like awake or asleep in the dreams.
Right.
That's also creepy.
But also when you wake up and you're relieved that it was just a dream.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like I've had several of those. One time, I've never had the I'm naked dream, but I always had the dream that I never completed high school. Always had that dream, yeah. Third period English, I'm 35, still in third period English. It's very depressing.
That's very difficult.
But so people say there's an underlying tone. I have like self-esteem issues. That's what a dream analysis said at this one convention I went to. So
and you tell them, stop analyzing me.
I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know my life. Darren?
I actually went to Vegas for the first time this weekend.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm 26, never been to Vegas. I went with my boyfriend and his family, and it was so much fun.
Did you actually gamble and do Vegas?
Yeah, so my boyfriend taught me how to play blackjack, so I played blackjack a little bit. Lost my money, you know, whatever.
Right.
But it was really fun.
Cool.
Did you
and the
party
weather was
it up?
awesome. You know what? I'm not really into the club scene at all, so I went to 0 clubs.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, by the pool at the Mirage for 2 days, playing blackjack, eating good food. Like it was incredible.
There you go.
Yeah.
I went to Vegas for the first time in 2015. I went to see Mariah Carey in concert.
Yes.
Tragic. But I won $4,000.
You won $4,000?
I won $4,000. Yeah, quarters. It was playing quarters. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. But see, we stayed at the Cosmo.
Okay.
And I walked in thinking like, you know what? I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. And you know what? You have to have that winning attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I manifested it because Hannah Cranston. Everyone thinks I'm so negative. Hannah. Well, I'm not even gonna go there. But Hannah pretty much dragged me to hell the other day. She was like, "Listen, you need to stop being so negative."
You just gotta be positive.
You're right.
You have to face life with a positive outlook, and then positive things happen.
Absolutely. Well, we have a positively great show today, ladies. Tesla is giving an extra boost for people in Florida. Warner Brothers is pulling their Geostorm promotional picture in the wake of Irma and Harvey. And there's clear evidence that a female Viking from 130 years ago was actually a military leader. LGBTQ plus groups are denouncing artificial intelligence that can allegedly tell if you are gay or straight just by facial recognition. And the FCC is cracking down on social media influencers and making them be fully transparent as to why they're in cahoots with some businesses and how they're making their money. So great show. So without further ado, let's do this. I sound like a freaking let's do this. Innovative luxury car manufacturer Tesla is giving those Tesla owners in Florida an extra boost in the wake of Hurricane Irma. Now, if you have a Tesla, you know that the battery is capped at 60 kilowatt hours per the software, but Tesla has now remotely allowed their owners to have their battery be fully unleashed at 75 kilowatt hours. Now, one Redditor had in Florida had noticed this in their car and were surprised that Tesla did this. And Tesla went on the record with the statement saying, quote, "We at Tesla hope that you and your loved ones are safe while preparing for the hurricanes approaching Florida. Due to these exceptional circumstances and to help you better prepare to evacuate and get to safety, your vehicle has been adjusted at no cost to you to temporarily access the additional battery capacity until September 16th. You will notice the badging on the instrument cluster will read 75 during this period. We hope that this allows you to travel to your next destination with confidence and ease." This is super cool. Tesla's actually doing what they can to make sure people are safe and that they can evacuate. Thoughts, 5 words or less?
A potentially profit-charged move?
Elon Musk, Canadian-American hero.
Going the extra mile.
Well, that's a good one.
Thank you.
That is a good one.
So I think this is great. I mean,
yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, Tesla, first of all, I think it's awesome that so many people, be it car companies, people who make products that are not cars, Johnson & Johnson, et cetera, are really getting in the thick of it to make sure that people are safe. I think it's responsible, it's aware. Hannah, you had said that it could possibly be a profit.
Charged. Get it? It's a pun. But yeah. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, right? Like, I think it's really great when companies step forward and they do good, right? And especially in the wake of a natural disaster like this, and especially for a company like Tesla, where maybe doing good isn't necessarily readily apparent, right? And they got a little creative with how they did good, right? And so I applaud them on doing that. But like all of these cars, so this is the cheaper model of Tesla. So all of these cars have the capability of having the 75 kilowatts, but when they purchased it, they could have 60 kilowatts. And so they just sort of updated their software until September 16th. But I think once you have something, it's really hard to go back. So I think what they're gonna find here is that people are gonna be like, once they have that little like extra oomph in their car, they're gonna find that people are gonna update the $4,500 or $9,000 or whatever it is to have the $75. Like I think they're like, once you have something, it's really hard to go back to not having it. And so I think they might find, I think doing good right now in our current society does have a profitable benefit, which is good for everybody in a capitalistic society. But I don't want to be like, oh, this is completely altruistic, because I don't necessarily think that's true.
That's Darren.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I would like to think, just because I'm obsessed with Elon Musk, that he is doing this out of the goodness of his heart and not to make money off of it. But I mean, you made a great point that I didn't even think of. But I mean, my thing is, it only adds what, like 30 to 40 miles onto your max mileage or whatever before you need to charge. I guess people are gonna have to decide if that's worth the extra like $9,000 to get another 40 miles before their next charge on their car.
Well, yeah, and I think I'm hearing what you guys are both saying, but I think that Hannah, you had said that once you give someone something, it's hard to take it back. So wireless companies like AT&T and T-Mobile are offering free service to people in Houston, and I'm sorry, in Florida, Houston. Well, I mean, they were just impacted by Harvey as well, but I think given the circumstance, people are, once they're fully disclosing that, yes, it's only available for a limited time. So given the circumstance, people are gonna be more inclined to, or at least I hope they will be, to be like, okay, listen, fine, I'm glad I have this for now. I know it's going away. Let me set my mind up for that. But
once you have unlimited data, have you gone back on that? You know what I mean? Going back on unlimited data really hard.
Right, but with unlimited data though, they cap you and they throttle your speeds afterwards. So this is similar to that. And also some people felt that this was kind of sneaky of Tesla, that you have always been able to have this capability, and a lot of people didn't know that they could unleash the Kraken with it. It's like me having a superhuman mutant power and never using it.
Because then you're like essentially like the people who paid more for the car with the 75 watt could also be upset because they're like, wait, we have the same exact battery, but I had to pay this much more for this particular car. Like, I don't know.
It does seem like a little bit shady.
Okay, ladies, wow.
But at the same time, I mean, they made those cars with the 60 kilowatt because it was cheaper than having the car with the 70 kilowatt. So, I mean, I would like to think that they were like, okay, let's make one that's a little bit more affordable for the masses. But
and Hannah, you mentioned altruism. I'm going to err on the side of altruism that Tesla is doing good, but at the end of the day, they are doing good. People were trying to flee. People were in danger. Luckily, Irma. Why am I saying Hurricane Irma? What is that? Irma is, as of today, is a Category 1 storm. So people, they're through the thick of it now. But I think that if Tesla wants to get their hands dirty and help people out, I'm all for it. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And when we come back, Warner Brothers is pulling all promotion out of theaters for their new movie Geostorm, which bows in October. Back in a moment. Warner Brothers is pulling all in-theater promotion for their new environmental movie Geostorm, coming out in October, starring Gerard Butler in the light of Hurricane Irma. Now, a lot of people are saying that these posters are insensitive. Let's take a look at the poster. It says, "Brave the storm." That is the caption that people are taking issue with, and Warner Brothers is being responsible in noticing that and pulling all of these out of theaters across the country. Now, recently, Warner Brothers issued a statement saying to exhibitors, people who are displaying the poster, "We want to be sensitive to everyone who are being and have been affected by the horrible storms, including families that may live in unaffected areas. That said, please pull the Geostorm one sheet currently in theaters with the tagline, Brave the Storm. We will ship new one sheets once the campaign has been modified. Thank you so much for your cooperation, Warner Brothers." Yeah, I think this is fantastic. Thoughts, 5 words or less?
Avoiding a storm of controversy.
Geostorm, based on true events?
Let the storm pass. I think this is great. I mean, now in 2017, now more than ever, we have to be fully aware and fully cognizant of what could be insensitive. And when I read the story, I thought, okay, this movie was filmed a year ago. They had no idea that Hurricane Irma was going to land as well as Harvey. But I can definitely see people that have been affected because, Hannah, when we were on Think Tank, we talked about the traumatic experiences and PTSD that people have when it comes to being displaced from their homes and things of that nature. So I think Warner Brothers is doing the responsible thing here.
Yeah, also, I mean, of course it's traumatic and you could face PTSD and whatever, but also saying brave the storm sort of says like, oh, like hunker down when people are being told to evacuate. So there's also components there. And I agree with you, like they do have to be sensitive. It's the same thing that happened a few years back when the posters for San Andreas Fault, that movie, and there was the Chilean earthquake around the same time. And it's like, look, you do need to be sensitive to these people who are like dying and not just trying to necessarily profit off a blockbuster, you know?
Yeah, no, and I think it's extremely responsible, especially now. I mean, not only is there all these hurricanes, Irma, Harvey, Katia, but there's but there was just an earthquake in Mexico. There's fires in Montana, Oregon, Washington, like
California.
Yeah, California. So there's a lot going on where people are being displaced from their homes or killed. You know, all their belongings are gone. So I think overall, it's just like a great choice for them to do this, considering everything that's going on in the country right now.
Something that stood out to me in this particular article and the way that they were telling the story is that they were saying that even though this is drastically different than what we're experiencing now, because the storms and the disasters in this movie are human made, and it's like, well, it's kind of different, right? Because these are natural disasters, but they're exacerbated still by human activity, and so it's not that disparate. So let's shed a little light on that too.
Sure. So you're saying art's imitating life here with global warming?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you think about when you're talking about the wildfires and you're talking about the exacerbated effects of these hurricanes and flooding and things like that, of course, like human activity and global warming and climate change play a big role in making them that much more devastating. So these are still have impact and have influence by human activity. So let's not say they're completely different things.
I agree. Well, I think it's fantastic that these studios are being more aware, because historically studios are about ratings, getting people in seats and money. There is a show on USA Network called Shooter that was supposed to bow in the fall, I think, of 2016, or the spring of 2016, but because of the shootings in Dallas and then furthermore in Louisiana, it was pushed back months, and so it finally came out in November. So I think that these studios being responsible and like actually listening to their audience is the way to go. Now, at the end of the day, yes, they want views, they want to put people in seats, and they want to sell tickets, and that we can't deny that. But if Warner Brothers is saying, hey, let's rein it in and release new pictures down the line, I mean, I support that. We can't be mad at that. And I mean, the movie looks fantastic. When I saw the trailer, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. No, it looks great, but I think kind of what you were going on about was people look at this movie and they think, oh, this is, all these natural disasters are man-made in the movie. But unfortunately, there's still a lot of people who don't actually believe that humans have such a massive impact on these hurricanes, on wildfires, on earthquakes. Just because things weren't necessarily as bad. Hurricanes weren't as bad. Maybe there wasn't as many wildfires back then. People don't understand that humans make, so essentially make these things much worse than they actually would be without human activity or whatever. So it's funny that, there's probably a lot of people who don't believe in climate change that look at this movie and think, oh, this is gonna be amazing, but they don't understand that it's actually kind of about us and how we're affecting the earth right now.
Yeah, it's a commentary on global warming, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like a futuristic sci-fi movie. It's a commentary on global warming.
Great place, ladies. Well, I can't wait to see what the new poster is gonna be. And the movie's in theaters October 20th, so check it out if you can. When we come back, former Mexican President Vicente Fox has officially taken the title as the #1 Trump troll in the world. You don't want to miss that. Stay tuned, back in a moment. It's no surprise that people all around the world have a strong disdain for Donald Trump. And I have to say that the most impressive person that feels this way is former Mexican President Vicente Fox. Now, this guy, has made, what's the word I'm looking for? Has slayed the beast when it comes to roasting Donald Trump online. Now, in a series of 4 videos on comedic online website Super Deluxe, this guy has lambasted the 45th president to no end. Take a look.
Hello, it's me, Vicente Fox, with another message for last year's rotting Halloween pumpkin. Donald, every time I make fun of you, which I do a lot, people say, why can't you be our president? America, I feel your pain. We all do. And that is why today I'm proud to announce my candidacy for President of the United States. Neat, right? Thank you, Goat. Now I know. A lot of you will say, how can you be president? You're a Mexican. And to those people, I have 3 words. Donald fucking Trump. If that were not baseball glove tightly gripping a third can be president, then amigos, anyone can.
Need I say more? Thoughts, 5 words or less?
Vicente gives no Fox.
Vicente Fox for president.
Dragged south of the border.
So good.
So good. So that was just one of 4 videos that is up on Super Deluxe that Vicente has done. I mean, you have to watch all 4 to really get your whole entire existence of this guy. This is the former president of Mexico. So this is a dignified, very influential person who has taken to comedy to give a John Oliver, Stephen Colbert kind of roasting that sometimes is better than them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so you guys watched some videos?
Dying.
Yeah.
Like when I watch things online and I'm by myself, I do a little chuckle, maybe a little LOL. I was slamming my lap and laughing hysterically. I mean, he had props. He had the hat that said, ask before grabbing pussy. I mean, it was so well done. He was hitting on Trump's obsession with Ivanka and how Melania doesn't even want to sleep in the same city. I mean, he went in.
So deep.
His delivery is so good too, though. It's so incredible. I love everything he says. And I'm like, wow, I literally agree with everything this guy is saying. He's so good.
So good, so good. And what else I loved about him too was the fact that so you have trolls. I mean, if you're an online presence or if you're a presence in pop culture, you have trolls that latch onto and follow your every single move and can comment on anything from what you're wearing to what you ate. He pulled from some of the best Trump mishaps over the last 16 months. The taco incident, the chocolate cake.
Bowl,
it's just great. But you are right, Darren. His comedic comedic timing. I don't know if he had writers. I'm sure he had writers helping him with this.
But you kind of have to have like a natural ability too to present stuff in that way.
Right.
And he's so good at it.
What I didn't like was how he misspelled the F word. Instead of fucking, it was fuck-in. It was F-U-C-K-E-N.
Yeah.
No, but I'm sorry. I was like, I mean, if go hard or go home. If you're gonna do it right, do it right.
So the reason he spelled it like that is because when he was tweeting in response to Donald Trump saying that Mexico was gonna pay for the wall, he wrote like fucking like that.
I know.
And so I think he was just doing a little callback, a little
the whole
comedy
thing.
trick.
The whole thing was callbacks. You know.
Yeah, I mean it was so phenomenal, and I think what makes it special, right? Like Stephen Colbert, John Oliver can do these things, SNL can do these things, and we find it funny. But I think what makes it especially special in this particular case is that he is like this former powerful world leader who, like, I would love to see like Angela Merkel like do a cameo. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I would like to see some of these other world leaders figure out a different way, because whatever's happening right now with Trump's relations and international relations with these, foreign dignitaries isn't working. And so I love that Vicente Fox is like, oh yeah, like.
Right, and this is someone who has obviously been watching our politics with a close eye, because some of the things that he called light to were clandestine in comparison to a lot of other issues that are going on with Trump. So, but
like, who isn't right now? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the world is like, he's just commenting on the fact that everything that's going on in this country is so embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I was in the Bahamas. I was at a McDonald's in the Bahamas. No, I was at a McDonald's in the Bahamas, and someone comes up to me and as I'm eating my filet of fish, my Bahama style filet of fish, which is amazing. She's like, "What's going on with your politics in your country?" And this is this is a Bahamian person that's not American that was schooling me on politics and concerned about our politics. So I mean, the state of the world is. But let me read you a quote from one of the videos that Vicente had said, and he says, "Quote: Donald, you have the worst team since the team that was beaten by Air Bud, a basketball playing golden retriever who has no hands, which are so necessary for the sport of basketball." He also goes on to say so many other things. Like the first question to ask yourself if you start a war is, would you fight in it? I mean, this guy had zero chill, ladies and gentlemen, zero chill.
Yeah, I mean, he made a lot of jokes, and he joked about Covfefe and the P tapes, whatever. But he also had some real like nuggets of information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He went in and he talked about like how he was spreading hate, and he said, look, if you go into the Mar-a-Lago and you have all these billionaires and millionaires cheering for you, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
If you go out into the crowds and the poor are cheering for you, and like then you're doing something right. And like that's like a very powerful message mixed in with P-tape jokes, which is like how I like all of my jokes, you know?
Hannah, queen of the puns today. Well, yeah, good stuff. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And moving on to our next story, 130-year-old Viking remains that were believed to have been male after a recent DNA study have concluded that the Viking was actually a high-ranking military female. Now, the Viking was discovered more than 130 years ago in 1880, and recently in Sweden, after a test, they deemed that it was a female. So that's pretty cool. Along with a lot of other stuff we'll cover, one of the things that was found with the Viking was complete warrior equipment and a board game in her lap that was used as a war planning game to try to use strategy and battle statistics, which indicates that this person was a very powerful military leader. Super cool stuff. Thoughts, 5 words or less?
Badass bitches ain't nothing new.
Historical evidence, women are badass.
Psych, she had a vagina. This is cool. So this was found.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
so cool.
It's not, I mean, but it's nothing new, right? Like, I mean, we have like all this evidence of these like ancient female warriors who were just like badass. When you think about like the Amazon women who like literally cut off a breast so that they could be better archers, right? Like that's amazing. And the Princess Zenobia, like there's all of this historical, Joan of Arc, historical evidence of these insane badass bitches who were warriors, but for some reason they got snipped out of history. So when we see somebody that's like powerful and making these war decisions, we assume that it's a man. Like in this story, they said they just assumed it was a man because it had all of this battle regalia or whatever. Because in modern history, it's the men that go to war, but in the past, these women were like leading, leading the platoons, whatever. I don't know army terminology, apparently.
Along those lines, Hannah, I think it is cool because I'm sure if you were to transport yourself back to a lot, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but people normally think of higher-ranking military officials as men.
Right, and that's just modern history. That's not ancient history.
Right, and those are the images that we see more times than not. So I would wonder if going back all those hundreds and hundreds of years and asking well, a Viking, well, what do you think about a woman being in power? What would be the response you would get? Because obviously this woman was a high-ranking official, and it's really cool that, I don't know, this actually existed. I mean, what else can you say? It's super awesome, Darren.
Yeah, no, I mean, the part that I took away from it was that like how far science has come to essentially sample this, DNA that is like thousands and thousands and thousands of years old.
Yeah.
To figure out the sex of this person. Science to me is incredible. It can do so many cool things. I wish that more people would be involved with it, and believe things that scientists are putting out. But yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome, especially as a woman. I think it's great to see women historically, throughout history in these positions of power, because I feel like that's where we are and where we should be.
Right. Yeah. Can we go back though? Because I feel like in ancient Egyptian times, and in this case, she was buried with all these things that she used and to really like represent her like existence on Earth. But then I was thinking about like, what would I be buried with? And it's like, maybe like my Roku remote and my cell phone. And I was like, oh shit.
Like we're not nearly as cool, unfortunately.
She's got like a sword and like a battle map. I would be like with some popcorn and like, I don't know, Nutella.
Darren, what would be in your Darren Dean time capsule?
Oh my gosh.
Not even time capsule, you're dead. So what would you be buried alive with?
Well, I gotta be buried with my dog.
Oh no!
Well, I mean, I would assume he would pass away first. So just don't do that. But I have to have my dog with me. What else about me? Like a basketball? Anything sports-wise? I don't know. What else? Probably like my phone.
What would you do?
To say that.
Shoot, guys, your phone, and don't forget your charger, your lightning adapter. What would I be buried with? I think a bottle of Black Orchid, Tom Ford.
Yes.
Damn it.
He smells like rotting corpse now, but back in the day.
He smells so fresh and so clean. That's a hard one. All my Mariah Carey CDs, because I still own CDs, but it's hard to say what you'd be buried with. I don't know.
And somehow they're still not nearly as cool as like arrows, armor, like spears.
But Darren, you do drive home a really cool point that the evolution of science, how we're able to now, so many years later, say, hey, this was a woman and not a male. And also the message that sends home that women were capable and did hold high-ranking positions. Back in the day.
They're still capable today.
Right, that's right. What do you guys think? What would you be buried with? Would you be buried with Taylor Swift CDs, Taylor Swift T-shirt? I know Grace would be buried with her Selena Gomez T-shirt. So
definitely.
Yeah, moving along. There is a recent study that now has LGBTQ+ supporters in outrage over a new artificial intelligence that could potentially tell if someone is gay or straight just by facial recognition. Now, this is some serious stuff. The study comes out of Stanford University showing that artificial intelligence can accurately guess whether people are gay or straight based on looking at their faces. Now, the research, which went viral last week, used a sample of online dating photos and was limited to only white users to demonstrate an algorithm that could distinguish between gay and straight men 81% of the time, and 74% of the time for women, and suggesting that machines potentially have a much better gaydar. We're gonna talk about it. Thoughts, 5 words or less.
Artificial lack of intelligence.
Why though?
Not here for this. This is a little disturbing because, I mean, you're basically saying, first of all, I subscribe to the notion that someone's sexuality is something that you give to someone when you're ready to. If you want to disclose if you're of the LGBTQ+ community, that's something you do on your own time. This artificial intelligence that could possibly be weaponized against queer individuals, it's alarming. And you have people like the HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, and GLAAD who are lambasting and are very, very, very upset about this, calling this dangerous, flawed, and junk science.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing, is like I love science. I really do. I'm such a science nerd. And when these researchers are saying that, well, we're just letting, the LGBTQ plus community that this technology exists so that they can protect themselves, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine if that's your excuse, but then do like a reliable study, because what they did was not representative.
Right.
They used only pictures of white people on one dating site. It wasn't a representative sample at all. And then they're saying, well, this proves that it's nature, not nurture. And I'm like, no, you talked about some facial features, but then you talked about hairstyles and like whatever. It's such bullshit science, no offense, like that they didn't even take that into account. It's not representative. It's not, who knows if it is, if they can do it again and get the same results, but it does like alert us that there are people out there who want to be able to look at you and identify you, which is wrong. You cannot tell somebody's sexuality by looking at them or by putting a robot on their face and seeing if they have certain facial hair or if they're wearing, I think it said like jewelry or something stupid like that off of one stupid dating site. Who knows if it's like a dating site that's for like certain people who like certain, it's just
I mean, the whole thing is, as much as I hate to say this because I love science and I come from a science background, it's kind of trash. I think that the scientists who conducted it only kind of went back and were like, well, we're just trying to protect them when they heard all this backlash from it. And like you said, not representative at all, only white people. And I think that, like if you did a study with, millions of people of different backgrounds, men, women, different races, like maybe you could conclude the stuff that, that they were saying. But again, I think it's totally unnecessary to even do a study like this. And the fact that there's even technology that they are trying to perfect to, tell someone's sexuality just based on their photo. That alone in itself is just like terrible and doesn't even need to exist.
And that's where the HRC and Gladys say that this could be weaponized against people because there's no need for it. Now, the study was done out of Stanford, and Michael Kozinski was the assistant professor who essentially wrote this program. And he says, quote, "One of my obligations as a scientist is that if I know something that could potentially protect people from falling prey to such risks, I should publish it. Rejecting these results because you don't agree with them on an ideological level, you might be harming the very people that you care about." Now, his argument is this could help people, that this could be a tool to save people, which again, I don't agree with. I don't think so. I think once you have artificial intelligence, and we've talked about this on Think Tank, we talked about this here on various platforms here on TYT, that things can be weaponized. Elon Musk with automatons. Once this gets into the wrong hands of people, is it going to be like what? Wearing a scarlet letter saying, "Hey, you're this, you're that." It's very bad. And you also had a retort from Ashlyn Johnson of the Human Rights Campaign, who said, "Quote: Imagine for a moment the potential consequences if this flawed research were to be used to support a brutal regime's efforts to identify and or persecute people they believe to be gay or LGBTQ+. Now, Stanford should distance itself from such junk science, there's that word again, rather than lending its name and credibility to research that is dangerously flawed and leaves the world, and in this case, millions of people's lives worse and less safe than before."
Look, if there is knowledge of intelligence that could harm people, and coming out with that research and coming out with those study findings, I think could be helpful and important, right? So we could say like, hey, let's put a ban on this, right? Like I do think that's crucial, right? But there's no indication from what I've read and the research that I've done that anybody was moving towards this. It just sounds like this Krasinski guy was like, oh, let's see if we can establish this, which is almost more detrimental because he's creating the AI to potentially identify these people by, so stupid.
This was first reported. Hannah, you make very valid points. This was first reported in the Guardian, and the Guardian actually wanted to participate in the study and use the artificial intelligence, and Kozinski said no.
Yeah, it's a little bit sketchy, and he also didn't say like what dating site he got the photos from, and it's just like,
and it was like 71 profiles, something weird
I'm
like that.
So it's just.
I agree, and again, I stand by my stance that someone's sexuality is at their discretion to disclose, and
it's not binary. It's not gay or straight. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's people all along the spectrum, and this doesn't account for that. And this just further hones in the fact that we have such a binary viewpoint and binary perspective about sexuality, about gender, that is so antiquated. And especially when you're talking about something so futuristic and so revolutionary as AI, you need to also step up your present ideology about what's going on in the world and how it is present.
Well, absolutely. And lastly, Kaczynski said that he would love for a researcher to debunk this and to prove him wrong. So I mean, I feel like Kaczynski had, the AI, ridiculous, but the writer is saying, listen, I know that this could potentially be bad, but someone come in and prove me wrong, and we can have this all go away. So who knows? I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that artificial intelligence should be used to out someone or no? I don't know. That's just where I stand on that. When we come back, our last story of the day. Social media influencers are now being called to be fully transparent about their involvement with companies on social media per the FTC and new regulations that have just come out as of late. You don't want to miss that. Back in a second. The Federal Trade Commission is a government entity that protects you and I consumers from bad business practices and also prevents anti-competition with companies, is now forcing social media influencers to be more transparent with their affiliations with companies online. Now, as you know, social media, of course, is a huge thing, and a lot of people are making lots of money promoting brands, aligning themselves with brands, etc. So now the FTC wants these people to lay it on the line and let people know what's up. Thoughts, 5 words or less.
FTC won't let them be.
What about Fitty?
The jig is up, people. Yeah, so this is actually, I'm all for this full transparency because I have a lot of friends who are social media influencers. And can we just talk about, so the word influencer kind of rubs me the wrong way because it's basically saying that like, Hannah Cranston, you have so many followers on social media, you are an influencer to people. And it's like, does that really make you someone who can say, hey, you are, I said I am the trendsetter, we are the tastemakers?
No. I think you can use, if you have a platform, and social media and things like that, you can use it for good, not evil. With great followers comes great responsibility. And so you need to be like, you need to be thinking about what you're selling, right? Like you're not gonna see me selling like skinny tea on my Instagram or like anything like that, or what are those? Waist trainers, bullshit things like no. Like you need to think about what you're selling. You also need to be honest that it's sponsored, that it's an ad, and be real about that. And if it is something that people are excited about, if your followers are excited about, they're still gonna buy it. Like when you watch TV and you see a commercial, you know it's an ad. You still marketing still works. It doesn't need to be like shady.
Sure. Yeah, no, and I feel like now in 2017 we are giving people a lot of power who aren't necessarily here for the overall well-being of the people that they're influencing. I think there are a lot of great influencers out there, but there's a lot of just like trash I see on Instagram where I'm just like, wow, they're really lying to their 500,000 people that follow them. They're just completely lying. So I feel like like you said, it is a big responsibility. When you have that many people that are watching your every move, that you do the right thing. Probably easier said than done when you're getting paid $5,000 to post about fit tea that doesn't work, but. Yeah, I just wish that a lot of these social media influencers would take the high road and do what's best for all the people that are following them.
I feel like you guys really don't like this fit tea. What happened?
Well, no,
it's just like every girl. It's either fit tea or the whitening paste shit. That's
the thing about fit tea is that people think that it takes your fat away.
Right.
They think that you lose fat off of fit tea.
It's a laxative.
Yes, it's a laxative. It's a diuretic. You lose water. That's it. You're not losing fat, ladies, just to let you know.
And real quick, there was a study about, I think it was one in the UK, one that interfered with women's birth control, and so a lot of people got pregnant. So if you're trying to lose weight, getting pregnant's not going to achieve that.
Yeah.
Well, I applaud.
So be careful. Read all the ingredients if you are going to go into these skinny teas.
I'm such a hater with fit tea. Oh my
I applaud the FTC though, ladies, for really taking responsibility in the dawn of new media and recognizing that social media has such a far reach and is a very, very powerful thing. And this all came into play after a settlement that specifically requires two YouTubers, Trevor T. Martin and Thomas Syndicate Gassell, to clearly disclose relationships with brands they promote after they were involved in a scandal. They owned a company and they were using their social media to drive people to this company that they owned. So they were in cahoots together. But also there was these new guidelines that came out that the FTC really wanted to drive home. And that was a more defined stance against social media influencers. And those new guidelines were this, that they have to clearly disclose when you have a financial or family relationship with the brand. You don't assume followers know about all your brand relationships. You have to ensure your sponsorship disclosure is hard to miss. Don't assume disclosures built into social media platforms are sufficient. Treat sponsored tags, including tags and pictures, like any other endorsement. Don't use ambiguous disclosures like thanks, hashtag collab, hashtag SP, hashtag sponsor, hashtag ambassador, and so on and so forth. And they've also sent out 21 warning letters to major Instagram influencers. What's wrong with me today? To avoid charges in the future. So they're educating people on what to do. It's not like they're just coming for people and saying, listen, you violated these laws. Let me do our due diligence and educate you guys. And if you still continue to break the law, then we have some problems.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting a warning letter from like the federal government, like, reel it in.
Maybe it's reel
it in. Like rethink some things. Put the hashtag ad. Put the hashtag sponsored, and move on with your life. You know what I mean? Like if you are so tied to whatever, you know, the best protein powder in the entire world. This is how I start my day every single day. Thing like that, you need that for your income. Like you need to reevaluate some life decisions.
Absolutely.
I'm really sorry.
Hannah Cranston pun number 25. But I also think that a lot of social media platforms now have their own guidelines and policies and procedures in regards to that. So this is good. I think that there needs to be more transparency on social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there you go. Well, there you have it. That's Pop Sugar today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
We made it through.
We did it. Good job, Jason.
Big shoes to fill here, man. I feel like the ghosts of Sam Shocker, Grace Baldridge, and Brett Ehrlich is just dancing around me, even though they're not dead. They're still alive. But guys, thank you so much for joining us, and have a fantastic day, okay?
So it's been days since Hurricane Harvey has ravaged Houston, and the Category 4 storm has flooded highways, flooded homes, and has led to a death toll of almost 30 people now. And the Washington Post put together this before and after to just show you how sad and horrific some of the effects of this hurricane have been on the city of Houston. So let's take a look. So this is just from Friday, August 25th to Sunday, August 27th, all right? So you can see just like highways, parks, I mean, it looks like Waterworld, essentially.
It's definitely alarming and very eye-opening. So just a tidbit of history. My whole family's from New Orleans. My mom, my mom's family, my dad, and my aunts and everyone still live there, and they all lost their homes in Katrina. So seeing these images was for them, because I've been talking to them over the course of Harvey, and a lot of people from New Orleans and from that area have since migrated to Houston, because that's the next biggest city next to Atlanta, from New Orleans. So a lot of these pictures for them have been very traumatic, because they're reliving. I mean, Katrina was 12 years ago. They're reliving the horror that was Katrina. So my heart goes out to everyone in Houston, because I've never been displaced from my home ever. Due to a natural disaster or for any reason. So I can only imagine the emotional trauma, the physical trauma you have to endure trying to keep it together with your family. So it's you can't fathom the, like you said, the horror that these people were feeling, and these pictures just drive that home.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I think when you are like, you know, separate from this, and you are in, you know, in California where we don't really get hurricanes or something like that, I think sometimes you can feel very removed. But I think these pictures really drive it home. And I think we forget how difficult it is for some of these people to leave their homes.
It's,
you know what I mean? You're
yeah.
leaving behind your entire life, photos. You know, you can't bring that much from these people who are coming to you know, provide rescue missions and things like that. And so you're leaving behind your entire world.
You
and
are.
so that, I mean, that is so tragic. And so I understand why people haven't been leaving their homes and why people are obviously so devastated by this. And the you know, to repair this city is going to take years.
Years, yeah.
So let's look at some more of these pictures. Another sort of picture of a highway, it looks like. And look, you can see these cars just kind of floating.
And Houston's a major metropolitan area.
Of
This
course,
is like Houston's
yeah.
one of the biggest cities in the country. So to see this type of ravaged weather damage is unparalleled. And like I said, you made a very good point, Hannah, about leaving and having to just flee. The aftermath of this is just as traumatic as the actual event, because I drive home so much the emotional trauma that people go through, because like I said, a lot of people moved to Houston from New Orleans after Katrina. And
well, also, like, even if they didn't move,
right,
if they stayed in
exactly.
Louisiana, now Harvey's headed towards Louisiana.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just tragedy and tragedy and tragedy over and over again.
And a lot of people don't want to leave their homes because when you live down south, hurricane season's from the end of July through November. So people who are from the south, especially in coastal regions of the south, are fully
used to it, yeah.
Oh, it's just a scare, but it's always that one hurricane that goes from a tropical storm to category 4, and then before you know it, it's massive, you know.
Right.
So you really got to take heed to that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I've listened to some podcasts and watched news of this, and you're hearing these like 70-year-old people who have like lived in Houston their entire life, and like, I've never seen anything like this, and it's hard to know what to expect. I mean, it said that they had to add a new color to the Doppler map to account for this horrendous storm. I mean, I think these highways just really drive it home.
Yeah, sure.
Right, because you're used to like seeing cars and traffic, and now they're completely, quite literally inundated, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is totally terrifying.
Could you imagine if something like that happened in Los Angeles? Like
No.
we're so ill prepared. I mean, we're barely prepared for earthquakes, and those things you cannot predict. Well, I mean, thank God for science for getting closer and closer to it, but what would we do in LA if something of this, like, where would we go? You know, it's just, we're not, when it rains in Los Angeles, people lose their minds, you know. So imagine, this is a natural disaster. Let's just call it what it is. It's a natural disaster.
That is what it is, yeah.
I don't know.
It is a natural disaster, and I would like to point out that it has been exacerbated by climate change. I mean, when you think about rising sea levels, that contributes to the predictability and I guess the likelihood of flooding, as well as rising climates, right? Because when there's more heat, there's more precipitation in the air, which is creating these larger storms, and that's important to remember, right? When President Trump is talking about how this storm is historic and epic, the reason that we have these, we've always had natural disasters, but this one is so exacerbated and on a magnitude that we're not used to because of climate change, because of global warming. So it's so important that we try to, we're not going to be able to stop hurricanes from happening, but what we can do is make strides in trying to slow down and stop global warming and stop climate change so that we can mitigate some of the horrendous effects of natural disasters like this. Guys, let us know what you think about these before and after pictures. And please, I would love for you guys to text Harvey to 90999 so that you can donate $10 to the relief efforts by the Red Cross in Houston, and let me know when you do so, because I would love to applaud you for doing that. And we'll see you guys soon. All right, guys, so there have been a lot of photos that have come out of Houston, Texas in the wake of Hurricane Harvey. And a lot of them have been very devastating. We showed you a video where we did before and after of what highways and neighborhoods looked like after some of the damage from the Category 4 storm. And there have been people who have been tweeting pictures on the ground. And then there have been people who are tweeting pictures that did not happen. So let's take a look at this picture here. here. It says, believe it or not, this is a shark on the freeway in Houston, Texas, hashtag Hurricane Harvey. Believe it not, because it's not true. I just don't understand how anybody can look at this and think it's true. We have done a jillion think tank episodes talking about how a lot of these sort of shark flood photos are always fake, and yet still people believe them. People who, excuse me, I'm gonna call you out. People who on Fox News bring up sharks on the highway. Are you kidding me? If you are gonna fact check your shit. This person came out and said, yeah, I know it's fake. Yeah, it's not my fault that people believe it.
Well, okay, so yeah, I mean, this pic, that is extra, man. That is on fire today, you guys. All right.
We're all shook.
We're a little shook. Shook us. Yeah, this pic. So again, in Hurricane Katrina, when the levees broke in New Orleans, there was for sure alligators within the city proper, and it's not that far fetched that you would find a sea dwelling. Yeah. So I mean, this shark and this picture looks super believable, but the guy who posted it is a journalist, and he got Hannah,
you can't be a journalist if you're purposefully misleading people. I'm sorry, like you can't.
And yes,
you're not a journalist.
Ideally, yes, but he is. But as a profession, he is a journalist, and he's gotten a lot of backlash for this fake picture. And yes, he did say it was fake, but people retweeted it. Thousands of people retweeted it, as a matter of fact. So I mean, he put it up.
Which is scary.
It's scary because
that's scarier than a shark on the freeway.
Right. And what's funny is that now people are coming for him, literally like they're coming for the Lannisters, and he's saying, "Listen, I'm not going to take."
Reference.
Yeah, it's Game of Thrones. Seriously, she always says that. Who farted? Face though, like who farted? I'm going to go on record and say that when I saw this picture, I believed it.
Jason.
I know, the shame.
Jason.
Shame.
Come on.
I know, Hannah, I'm sorry.
You can't believe that.
I did.
Clearly you're not watching enough Think Tank, because I have at least 3 videos with these stupid viral shark things, and we're debunking them. But the other component of that is like fact check. Like obviously you have Google image search. If you see something that looks too unbelievable to be true, take this image, Google search it, and see if it exists elsewhere.
But why are we mad about this, though?
As Jason Michael didn't take this photo. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think he lives in the UK or something bizarre like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why but if you're a journalist and you're supposed to be like, oh, I'm sharing information from the ground, and you're not even on the ground.
But why are we mad though? So okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. You're right, girl. Like we should, this is ridiculous. One of the rules of journalism is to always fact check, and I think that if you are online engaging in social media about you should also fact check yourself. I'm guilty of not doing that with this. My bad.
Fact check, of course. But also, if you are going to be a journalist, there's a code of ethics.
So do you think the issue is, and you're right, people are really mad about this, which honestly, it's just a picture, but I think that trying to capitalize on the tragic event that is Hurricane Harvey is shitty. You shouldn't, there's people displaced, losing their houses, dying.
There's already people who have enough fear about this, and then to exacerbate that with a picture of a shark. And then but who knows? Maybe somebody sees this and they don't want to leave their house because they're scared of sharks, and then they're stuck in their house and the flooding. Like, I don't know, God, I hope not. But you don't know the effects of this. And if you are a journalist and you're supposed to be who somebody trusts, whether you're Jason Michael or whether you're Sam Shepard on Fox News, you need to make sure that the information that you are sharing and spreading is correct. And if you believe something and you thought you checked it or whatever, I understand that mistakes happen, but you have to then go out and say, either take this down, which Jason Michael refuses to do. He says he refuses to do. He said this is his moment for fame because he's gotten so many retweets and likes for it, okay? So that should alert you too, major red flag. But you take it down and you apologize and you say that you effed up.
Well, and
Like
you're right.
I mean, we should all do that. If you call me out on something that I said wrong, I will fess up to it. I'll be like, you know what, you're right. Like I appreciate you calling me out. After looking into it, I realized that it needed to be correct.
I agree with you, Hannah, but I think that people are so, okay, so this picture is not as egregious as possibly having another picture of someone, maybe a body from Houston floating in the water. That would be,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
But
That
we
would
play
be
that game with anything.
Sure, but what's kind of like really unsettling for me is how people are coming for him and they're really mad at him about this picture. This picture, believe it or not, I live in Los Angeles, has not impacted my life in any way, shape, or form. For me to go on
because you live in Los Angeles, but also I think the reason that people are so mad is because we live in a climate where fake news is a real issue and can determine elections and things like that. And so I think people are very sensitive about fake news.
Hypersensitive, maybe? About fake news, which, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Fake news has, fake news, like if you look at the effects and people who were profiting off of fake news during the past election, I mean, it had a profound effect on the future of our country. So I don't necessarily think it's hypersensitive when we,
What I mean hypersensitive is that I see what you're saying, Hannah, that fake news has definitely propelled people to places they should not be in currently. But what I'm saying in the context of this picture with the shark, though, if you read some of the tweets about people who are upset, I'm sorry, this picture it's not that serious.
I think if this picture came out 2 years ago, people wouldn't have been upset. But I think when the current climate, you need to think twice about spreading fake news and trying to profit on it, like this guy who's trying to get his 15 minutes of fame.
And he even says that he come for him. He does not care. He's not taking it down because I think he sees it as, listen, like I just posted it. I don't see the seriousness behind all this.
But that's what people said when they were sharing those news articles that were fake about Hillary and the news articles that were fake about Trump. They're like, oh, I thought it was just like a joke. I thought it was funny or whatever. And they had damning effects.
Right. Okay. Well, let's agree to disagree. I think we just had our first fight on Think Tank, Hannah.
I don't think it's a fight. I think we're just like discussing the impact of fake news.
Okay.
Do you think it's a fight? Do you think we just had a fight?
It felt kind of heated. I'm sweating a little bit.
That's on you, bro.
I know.
That's on you.
What do you guys think?
Let us know what you think and who you side with for this shark debate. It's Shark Tank. This is Shark Tank.
We workshopped it.
Yes. Let us know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon. While everyone's attention is turned to Houston during Hurricane Harvey, there is massive rainfall and flooding in Mumbai. Now, Mumbai has been hit with its worst deluge since 2005, leaving half of the city submerged in more than 126 millimeters of rain. Now, the Regional Meteorological Center has declared another 48 hours of heavy rain and advised that residents of the city stock up on supplies and stay indoors for the next 2 days.
Wow.
Now, I want you guys to look at some of these photos because this is terrifying, right? I mean, this looks very reminiscent of what we're seeing in Houston right now. I mean, people trying to, motorcycle or scooter their way through the city. Look at these cars that are just floating. I mean, you can see people like floating and trying to get through these essentially rivers through their city that this flood has created for them. This looks like an airport. Again, I mean, that's got to be so difficult to try to, how do you escape this, right? Like you can take a boat to higher ground, but you can't like leave the city. Mumbai is also a very poor city, so I imagine that it's very difficult for people who are lower income in this city to find safety. I mean, look at this.
It's crazy.
This guy has an umbrella and his car is completely immersed. Yeah. I mean, you can just see the people crowding here. That's at the train station. I mean,
it's the effects of things like this, or it's when it's happening, it's damaging. But then afterwards, the cleanup and then the effects and what it takes to get back to square one is what really is alarming too. Because as you said, some parts of Mumbai are not high income. There is poverty, and so people are displaced. You don't, and you know, here in the United States, we have such advanced ways of extrapolating water, of the cleanup, of the aftermath, of making sure that things return to the way they were before to the best of our ability. And some places don't have that.
Right.
So that it's so. I feel so privileged, and whenever time I use that word, I try not to use it as a weapon. Like, people weaponize privilege. You know, they say, well, I'm privileged. Well, I mean, here in the United States, we are very privileged, and I try to put myself in the minds of these people going through that, and I can't because I've never experienced anything like that. So seeing these pictures really just makes it very present. And again, we always talk about global warming, climate change, and things of that nature here at TYT on Think Tank and in the media, and it's real. It's so real.
Yeah.
I don't understand how people can't grasp that knowledge. You know,
when you see this and you see that this is like the worst flooding that they've had since 2005, it really, again, with Hurricane Harvey and with this, you can see how much climate change is affecting this by rising sea levels, by having more precipitation in the air and things like that that are going to affect these real and devastating floods. And it's so important to try to mitigate some of the effects of climate change and global warming so that we don't have this devastation. So for Mumbai and for Houston and for Louisiana, as Harvey moves there, like I hope we can, you know, hopefully do the best that we can right now. But for future natural disasters in the future, hopefully we can mitigate some of their effects by trying to mitigate the effects of climate change. Guys, let us know what you think about some of these photos. And I know that we have a lot of viewers overseas, so if you are in these affected areas, please let us know how you are coping and how you are dealing in the comments down below, and we'll see you soon. In a move that no one expected, but pretty much everyone applauded, actor Ed Skrein has stepped down from his role for Hellboy as Major Ben DeMaio for a pretty great reason. Now, I'm going to read you the post that he put on his Twitter, and I'm really excited about this. So it says, last week it was announced that I would be playing Major Ben DeMaio in the upcoming Hellboy reboot. I accepted the role unaware that the character in the original comics was of mixed Asian heritage. There has been intense conversation and understandable upset since that announcement, and I must do what I feel is right. It is clear that representing this character in a culturally accurate way holds significance for people, and that to neglect this responsibility would continue a worrying tendency to obscure ethnic minority stories and voices in the arts. I feel it is important to honor and respect that. Therefore, I have decided to step down so the role can be cast appropriately. Representation of ethnic diversity is important, especially to me as I have a mixed heritage family. It is our responsibility to make moral decisions in difficult times and to give voice to inclusivity. It is my hope that one day these discussions will become less necessary and that we can help make equal representation in the arts a reality. I'm sad to leave Hellboy, but if this decision brings us closer to that day, it is worth it. I hope it makes a difference. Such a powerful statement and so important right now, especially as people of color are not represented equally in films. We've covered before all of the films that have been essentially whitewashed by they were supposed to be characters of different ethnicities and races that were played by white actors. I think most recently, I remember Scarlett Johansson playing an Asian character in Ghost in the Shell. And so I love that he is coming forward and saying, no, this needs to be, you know, accurate, right? And it needs to be played by a, you know, the character is Japanese American, and so it needs to be played by someone who fits that identity, because like it doesn't make sense to then give that role to a white actor and further perpetuate the fact that there's not that many Asian American actors in films right now, and that we need to increase that. We need to increase the diversity, especially when it is accurate to the story and to the comic book in this case.
I agree. I agree. I think that the Asian community is very underrepresented in Hollywood, and I was really shocked when he said that he didn't know prior to taking the role in the Hellboy that the character that he was going to portray had historically been Asian. I mean, I think that he should have done his homework in that sense. But I mean, when you want a job, you want a job. I don't know what his motivation was. I'm not going to speculate about why he took the job. I mean, you want to work. Hellboy is a huge franchise.
Yeah, I mean, he's turning down millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Also, and also the opportunity to appear in other Hellboy, because now it's all about the franchise. So the Hellboy movies came out many years ago, and now I'm glad they're rebooting it. Selma Hayek, was in them. Not Selma Hayek. I'm sorry, Selma Blair. I apologize. But it's very frustrating to see that minorities are not getting the opportunities that that they should. And a lot of so let's talk about last year's movie cycle. You had Hidden Figures, you had Fences, you had a lot of movies that had for African Americans really great meaty roles. And I think that not only people of color but women being in leading roles is important. I think that Hollywood for some reason can't grasp what your audience is telling you, and I think this guy took the opportunity to listen to the audience, to listen to the public and say, hey, dude, you're not right for this, and for him to, as you said, forfeit a monumental amount of income to do the right thing just speaks volumes about him. And I hope that the powers that be at these studios really take heed to this and say, boom, someone that's not even in a position of power is taking our power back. And we have to be cognizant of that. We have to be present in that.
Yeah, I hope more people follow his lead. I hope that you're right. Like, these studios take heed to that, because the truth of the matter is like, we've had, when you look at the history of film, it's always been white male leading roles, and so that's all that these studios know, and they know that makes money, so they try to make more and more films like that. But we have the power, okay? You vote with your dollar. So you go and see the movies, you go and see, Hidden Figures, you go and see Fences, you go and see Girls Trip, you go and see Moonlight, and you pay for the movies that have this representation that is necessary and deserved, right? I mean, when you're thinking about our population, like, the film should be representative of our population. And so it's so important that you go and you call actors out on this to have a say that way, but also go and see the films that you want to see more of, because that's what these studios are going to pay attention to. Real quick, like, I hate going to the movie theater.
Why?
I don't like it. Because I like to stop the movie 1,000 times while I'm at home so that I can pee and make my food and talk. And I don't like other people. I don't like going. Sure. It's expensive AF. Like, I don't like going. But I will tell you that I went opening weekend to go see Wonder Woman, to pay for that, so that the studios, I could vote with my dollar, and so that the studios could hear that I wanted to see more women and powerful leading roles represented in their films.
I am the complete antithesis of how you view movies. I love going to the theater. I love the immersive darkness, the captive audience.
You can turn the lights off at home.
But it's not. But I think that, creatively, they create movies and we go see them in the cinema for that experience alone. You touched on some really cool things, and voting with your dollar, making your dollar work, making your dollar have a voice. And I think that, I say this time and time again, I've come under fire for this about diversity, and how now diversity is the cool thing. It's cool to be diverse when it's always been cool to be diverse. Yeah. And I use Shonda Rhimes over and over again as a great example, because the reason why she has taken over the world pretty much through television is because she had the foresight. She knew that everyday life was Asians, was interracial relationships, was gay, was LGBT, was transgendered people. And so she, with Grey's Anatomy and Scandal and all the myriad of different programming she put on television, that's why people attach themselves and are such huge fans, because she's like, this is everyday life.
Without tokenism,
right?
That's what sets her apart from, I think, so many other people, is that it's not a sort of a token situation. She's really giving these very meaningful and real roles to all people
And
of all different, creeds and colors.
Right, and there was no man of power, woman of power. The role of Meredith Grey, and I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy fan, and could have been played by a black woman, could have been played by an Asian woman. She didn't write it to where it was like, oh, I envision this one person to be this way. You talked about money. With that, the powers that be in these studios, Warner Brothers, Sony, that all they care about is money, and that's very true. There is a formula. You open a movie with George Clooney, you open a movie with Brad Pitt, you open a movie with Ben Affleck. People are gonna go see it. It's gonna generate revenue, but it doesn't necessarily translate into a good movie experience. And I think that some of the best movies I have seen have been like the House of Sand and Fog, or these movies that have had these characters in these leading roles that were not what you thought a leading role should be, and have made you think, wow, what I'm blown away, because they had the opportunity, and a lot of our actresses and actors, I like to call women actresses actors as well, they're saying, listen, just write the roles and you will see the audiences show up for them. Give us the roles to have, give us the opportunity to show what we're made of. Viola Davis, perfect example, and you will see they will come. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
So I hope this is a push in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I totally applaud him, and I don't ever want to underestimate the power of representation.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think about this tweet from Ed's Grind in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon. So everybody wants to be a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser, and you can read books, you can go to school, but there's one thing that has been proven to actually change the way that your brain functions and the actual composition of your brain, okay? So we know in the past that we have covered the effects of meditation. And some of the effects of meditating include its ability to lower anxiety, improve concentration, help treat those with HIV, and even extend one's life expectancy. Now, Sarah Lazar, who's an associate research scientist at Massachusetts General Hospital, said that she most recently found several brain regions that had actually changed with the introduction and practice of meditation. She said that some of the changes she saw took place in the posterior cingulate cortex, which helps control one's ability to focus on the task at hand, the left hippocampus, which helps in learning, cognition, and memory, and the temporal parietal junction, which helps manage empathy and compassion, which I think we could all use a little bit more of right now. She said that brain scans of people who meditate reveal they have more gray matter than non-meditators. Increased gray matter in areas of the brain often correlates to heightened abilities in a range of skills. Now, Lazar said when people began meditating, their amygdala got smaller, which is the area of the brain most closely associated with fear and aggression. Literally everybody in this country right now, and in every country around the world, should be meditating. Like this is profound research, and it is so inspiring, right? That you can make yourself a more compassionate, a more empathic, a more creative person by taking 10 minutes out of your day to meditate.
It's hard though, Hannah. Like, you guys watching, you guys can probably agree with me when I say that it's in our lives, we're always so go, 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 go. So to stop and to have 10 minutes of just, because when you meditate, you clear your mind, you focus on your breathing, you're present, all you're thinking about is your breathing, and
well, you can think about other things too.
But they say, but that's part of the whole, the calm down.
It depends on the type of meditation that you decide to go into. There's other things that like you focus on different things that you're looking at and things like that. But yes, it's difficult.
I've tried to meditate. I am a meditation failure, and I have ADHD, so maybe that comes into play with that. But I can't do it, Hannah. Like and when I read this, I was like, okay, I think it's very inspiring and super incredible that you can amass all these wonderful things, and you could be more present, you can be more cognitive. But that 10 minutes, and I guess it's a repetition thing. The more you do, it's like working out. The more you do it, the easier.
You get better at it.
But it's so hard.
Well, yeah, not everything's gonna be easy. That's worth it. Hard things like have good effects that can come from it.
Because me and meditation don't have an intimate relationship.
I know, but you don't build an intimate relationship by just meeting somebody. You gotta build it and work on it.
Sure, you're right.
You know what I mean? And there's different ways that you can meditate, right?
Like
you can do things like breathing, which is, I think, I agree with you, sometimes very difficult. You can do like mindful walking, where you're just kind of focusing on each step. You go very slowly and you like are hearing the sounds and trying to focus on your walking and things like that. One of my favorite forms of meditating is thinking about colors.
Okay.
So I often, for me, green is a very positive color. And so I think about breathing, and red is a sort of a negative color for me. So honestly, I think about breathing in green and breathing out red. That's all. And so having the color and focusing on the color is easier for me and more visual than, because I'm a very visual person, than just thinking about the breathing, because it makes it a little bit more tangible.
Yeah.
And there are some great apps, some that are free, some that you can pay for, like Headspace or something like that, that give you guided meditation so that you don't have to do the work yourself. You just have to listen and try to follow along. And to think 10 minutes, as hard as it may be, could change the way your brain works and make you a better human.
It's worth it.
This seems like it's worth it to me. Let us know if you guys meditate and which form of meditation you like to practice the most. And if you don't, what are the biggest obstacles? What's holding you back? Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon. All right, so in case you missed it, I don't know how you could have. Taylor Swift released a new song. Called Look What You Made Me Do. According to Twitter, no one liked it. According to her breaking all the streaming records, the jury says, nah, not so fast.
Fake news.
But she also released the video with it, and the video is chock full of Easter eggs and digs at certain people, commentary about her. There's a lot going on, but there's one Easter egg that I want to focus on because I actually think this one is important and not super petty. So she's in this bathtub, right? And she's covered in all these diamonds and jewelry. But if you zoom in, just zoom in a little bit more, there's one singular dollar in the bathtub of her and the diamonds. And as you guys might remember from a Think Tank video that we did, you can watch that here. Taylor recently countersued the DJ who has, sexually harassed her, sexually assaulted her. For $1 to make a point that it's so important for women to come out and talk about the assault and the abuse that they face. And so I love that she added this in here. Just one little.
Yeah, this video was so much subtle shade. Okay,
no, it was not that subtle.
No, there was. I'm not a Swiftie. I'm more of a Katie cat. I know, I've been poor Katie. Well, that's a different Think Tank episode, but leave it to Taylor Swift to just, in a very calculated and very thought out way, make a very powerful point. She's so good at that. Oh, it makes me so mad. I just want to like gouge my eyes out how good she is at owning her power and knowing who she is and sending a message that's heard around the world. I can't be mad at that. Taylor in this video, in addition to the Easter egg of the dollar, which I'm glad that Taylor has zero chill. Taylor
takes no prisoners,
none
chill
whatsoever, and she's so young. And I think as much as I think she plays victim a lot, I have to give it to her for using her power to stand up for something that needs to be stood up for.
Yeah, she was not playing victim in that scenario.
Right.
She was actually a victim who then
advocating for women.
Yeah,
it was like bravo, Taylor. Yeah, hats off to you. And I think that Taylor, look. If you want a career, don't mess with Taylor Swift. She will end you. Yeah.
I'm very curious because I think people, so I love that she included this. You know how I feel about that lawsuit. You can see that video. And so this was kind of like a dig at him, like don't F with Taylor. But the other component of it, and I think people are getting so worked up at this song and the video and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think people take it like a little too like literally and seriously. Like, guys, remember that these people are artists. Like, we could all be pawns in their game. Like, Taylor and Kanye, like, who knows what they do behind closed doors? Like, if they're just hanging out and best friends and they're creating drama to, like, we don't know. Maybe that's not the case. But I just, like, people need to not get so worked up about other people's potential drama.
But they get the reason, you're right. But
It's the same people who got mad at that Beyonce song when she talked about a Becky. Like, and it came out that it wasn't even about her and Jay-Z, but people were so mad at Jay-Z because she's talking about a Becky. Like, I mean, come on. Like, it's art.
We're a little bit too invested in these artists, but Hannah, art imitates life. And the reason why people get so worked up about Taylor Swift, the reason why I got worked up about Taylor Swift in this video was because she very, very cleverly took the narratives of what people have been saying about her and what she has been spewing to us for the last years and used it to her advantage.
Yeah, she capitalized on the drama. Like, you go, girl.
And then like the whole, like, you know, her squad and missing names from the t-shirt and stuff like that. It's just like, Taylor, as much as I want to like you, Tay-Tay, I want to like you, but you're so good at being the victim, and then.
Well, wait, hold on. Wait, why not? If she is the center of all of this talk, of tabloids, of rumors, of people, you know, harassing her, why not try to take control of the narrative?
Right.
Why not try to capitalize?
Sure.
If people are going to be hating on you and benefiting off of your pain and your suffering, why not take control of it? Why not try to capitalize on yourself?
Okay, point taken, Hannah Cranston.
Point making
However,
too.
I feel like
taking points and making points.
She's not innocent in this. Her hands are not clean. She's complicit, and
she says, "Look what you made me do." She's doing shit.
Right. So, but she's also. I feel Taylor is also a mean girl as well, and that sometimes you throw a stone. It's like, listen, if I go up to a dude and knock him out or punch him, which I would never do, but just theoretically and hypothetically, and then he hits me back, I can't be mad at that. Taylor did some dirt and people got mad at her for it, but yet
maybe
I mean, this is all speculation.
Yeah,
because
that's the thing is we don't get to say she's a mean girl. I don't know her.
All right, well,
you don't know her.
I don't know her.
You don't know her. I don't know her. I don't have, like,
my
unless
gut,
you.
She's Olivia Poping all of this, and it's like she's getting in front of it because I feel like some dirt's gonna come out.
Olivia Pope wears a white hat.
What season of Scandal were you watching?
Oh.
Now she's a villain.
Oh, is she? I haven't watched in like
different
2
Think
seasons.
Tank episode. I can't.
Sorry, now I'm really
we're actually
behind.
using our brain
I guess
power
I should have.
to dissect Taylor Swift.
I retract the hair flip.
What have we come to?
All right. I want to hear about some of your favorite Easter eggs from this Taylor Swift video in the comments down below.
The snakes are great too.
We'll see you soon. So Teen Vogue released a back-to-school health and wellness list where they featured value products and splurge products, okay? So they featured everything from like yoga mats and medicine balls and water bottles, whatever you could think of that you might need to go back to college or to high school or whatever to have a very healthy and well year. Now that also included things for sexual health, things like this value personal massager. And it says personal massagers are one of the best ways to let off steam with zero risk of STIs. This one is waterproof with easily adjustable vibration frequency and it's available on Amazon. Then they had a different one here. They also talked about water-based lubricant, and they said that it stays wet for a very long time without getting sticky, cleans up great for use with or without condoms. And then it says, remember, only use water-based lubricants with latex condoms or else they may break. Great tip, right? Yeah. They showed latex condoms here. They also said non-latex condoms for people who might be allergic or have sensitivities to latex. But some people were not so happy about them including these on the list because they said it was basically encouraging teens who might be a demographic for this magazine to have sex. To which I say, if you provide people with education, it's not necessarily encouragement. And also, why is having a healthy sexual life a bad thing?
Yeah, this is one of those things, Hannah, that it's on the precipice of nay, yay or nay. I stand on the yay side. I think that we are unintelligent if we think that young adults, 15, probably even younger, to all the way into 21, because that's the demographic that Teen Vogue is aiming at, is not aware of these things, is not curious, if not already are engaging in sexual activity. I know I lost my virginity at 15, so that was back in the 90s. So I mean, even now, we didn't have social media. We didn't have all these things.
Did you have comprehensive sex education?
The only comprehensive sex education I had was in 5th grade, like they normally did back then. But a lot of my sexual
but was it abstinence only, or did they tell you about condoms and everything?
Right,
okay.
Because abstinence only didn't really come to the forefront until like later on in my formative teenage years. It was mainly about preventative. Like they talk, of course, abstinence was a thing, but they also about condoms. But it was never ever this in depth to where they were talking about lube and things of that nature. And also, this magazine also had an anal sex article a couple issues ago that got a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
But I can
you guys can watch our discussion of that right here.
I can totally see why this would be alarming, because even the digital editor of Teen Vogue kind of had this very tongue-in-cheek retort, was like, well, I'm not taking it down. I think this is what kids should talk about. And
so
again,
important.
It is. And I think that once you knock off the mystique and knock off the taboo of sex, kids are more open to internalize it, they're more open to understand it, and really want to be present in it. It's when you put this shame label on sex.
Well, yes. I think you're hitting on a few points, right? So shame label on sex is not great, right? Because as we know, like for the personal massagers and things like that, like having a healthy self-love session is actually very good for you, right? Orgasming is good for your brain, it's good for your health. Okay, so we need to
men, your prostate.
And we need to be talking about that. And like they mentioned, it's also good because you can't get an STI that way. And so people who are against this or don't want teens to be having sex should be like, hell yes, thank God they'll be doing it with themselves and not doing it with other people, right? Fine. But then the other component of that is that we need to be talking about the ways that kids and young adults can be protecting themselves, because they are going to have sex. And science, facts prove that when they have comprehensive sex education and they're more educated about sex, they actually wait till later in life to have sex. All right? So education, always a good thing. This argument to me is literally like kids, like for children, right? Little toddlers or something like that. You don't tell them that Band-Aids exist, so then they won't skin their knees.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, no, little kids are gonna skin their knees. Might as well tell them that Band-Aids exist so that they can put that there, or wear pants, or wear knee pads, or whatever it is, because little kids are gonna skin their knees. So you need to tell them how to fix it, how to prevent it, whatever it may be. Show them how to tie their